For today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 players in the NBA right now. Now, this is technically the third part of my 3-part series of ranking my top 50 players in the NBA. So a few days ago, I did 50 to 31 on my list, which was part 1. And then yesterday, I posted 30 to 11 on my list, which is part 2. So if you haven't already, be sure to go check out the rest of my top 50 list as well. But today, we've got the best of the best. We've got the top 10 players in the NBA right now. And just remember, we all have different opinions about this. I definitely want you guys to leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. I want to see your opinion on this, but just make sure to respect everyone's opinion. And without further ado, let me get in my list now. Number 10 on my list, I've got Anthony Davis, and he's one of the toughest players to rank right now. For some of you guys, this is going to seem way too high, and for some of you guys, this is going to seem way too low, to be honest, because he never really got fully healthy this year. But at the start of the season, he did play about a third of the season. I think it might have been a little bit less than that, but a quarter or a third of the season fully healthy, and we didn't see a lot from AD. He only put up around 22 points per game on a -1 relative true shooting and only 26% from 3. And he still is probably the very best defender in the NBA, in my opinion. Extremely versatile, an elite rim protector, and probably the best pick and roll defender in the entire NBA. And mostly because of how he still is elite defensively, I'm putting him at least in the top 10. And because of what we saw last year in the bubble too, with him being arguably a top 3 player in the NBA, he has to at least be in the top 10 here. But when he was fully healthy this season and in the playoffs when he was fighting through injuries, he definitely didn't play like himself. But I am expecting a bounce back year from AD next year, and he'll probably be moving himself back up into maybe the top 5. Ninth on the list, I've got Joel Embiid, and Joel had definitely an MVP caliber season this year. He had the most points per 75 possessions in the entire league with 34 per 75, which is absolutely insane. He's obviously really dominant in the post, can play bully ball and score down low very effectively, can turn around and shoot that little fadeaway mid-range shot in the post, which at times is inconsistent but also very effective at times, and shot 39% from 3 this season and was very good from 3. Improved there, was very good in the pick and pop, and he did all of this scoring on 63.5% true shooting, which is about a +7 relative true shooting, meaning 7% above average. So he's a great scorer, a pretty good defender at 2. His defense is inconsistent. Sometimes he can be lazy, but for the most part, I think he's a top 20 defender. He's pretty versatile and is usually an effective defensive anchor and post defender. And the only thing that holds him back from quite honestly being in the top 5 of this list is how he really doesn't have a huge playmaking aspect to his game, and not a great off-ball game on both ends of the floor. But if he improves that, he can easily be in the top 5 someday. Number 8 on the list, I've got James Harden. It was interesting to see James Harden take a different role this season. Scoring-wise, he absolutely did take a step back and played pass first this season. Averaged 25 points per game on only slightly above average efficiency, and because of the step back scoring-wise, this does hurt his ranking just a slight little bit, but he still was playing pass first and really proved this season that he's one of the better playmakers in the NBA. Turnovers are always going to be a problem for Harden, but still this season ranking 2nd in the league in assists per game with around 11 per game, only behind Russell Westbrook. 3rd in the league in box creation, which is how many open shots you create per game for your teammates, is a great stat for playmaking. And 3rd in the league in passer rating as well. And Harden really proved that he's a great playmaker this season. It was very fun to watch him take on this role. And really the only thing that hurts his ranking is how his scoring just declined a little bit this season because of his new play style, and also how he's always not been great on defense, but still when he puts his mind to it can be a very good interior defender at times as well. Harden also didn't do that well in the playoffs this season, so there's little things here that hurt his ranking and to keep him out of the top 5, but offensively alone he's still easily a top 5 player, and just his defense at times hurts his ranking a little bit here. 7th, I've got Nikola Jokic, and same thing with Harden. If we're talking offense only here, Jokic is definitely in the top 5, and we look at what he did this season, just obviously deserved the MVP, was very valuable to this Nuggets team, didn't miss a single game, and what stands out to me is his playmaking ability. I think he's a top 3 playmaker in the NBA right now, has incredible court vision, passing ability, averaged 9 assists per game this season as a big man, which is absolutely insane, and also a 15 box creation, which is top 5 in the league. And when it comes to his scoring, almost shooting around 50, 40, 90 this season, which is insane for a big man. Very effective in the pick and pop and overall from 3, and put up 27 points per game this season. Like I said, offensively top 5, but his defense does hurt him a little bit here. Overall, he's probably an average defender, but when you put him in the pick and roll at times, he can be a liability, and we saw that in the NBA playoffs. He kind of reminds me of Karl Anthony Towns that way. But Jokic's offensive game is just so good that he has to be at least 7th on this list for me. Sixth on my list, I've got Luka Doncic, and really his playoff emergence is definitely helping out his ranking a little bit here. And overall this season, Luka was just one of the best scorers in the league, without a doubt. In the regular season, putting up 27 points per game on 59% true shooting, and in the playoffs, putting up an insane 36 points per game in that series against the Los Angeles Clippers on a 57% true shooting. So still above average or average efficiency for Luka, with this insane play style as well, always creating his own shot. In the regular season, only 13% of the baskets he scored were assisted, and in the playoffs, only 8% of those were assisted. Luka's also one of the best playmakers in the NBA, definitely a top 5 playmaker, ranking in the top 2 in box creation with a 17.5 per game, and also putting up around 9 assists per game last season. He has amazing court vision, and despite being an ISO player, is still one of the best playmakers and passers in the league. Obviously a great rebounder as well, and really the only thing that hurts his ranking here is his horrendous free throw shooting at times, and also how he's nothing but above average on defense. Sometimes he can be a good off-ball defender and sometimes a good on-ball defender and perimeter defender, but the fact that his defense isn't elite compared to some of the other guys that have ahead of him here hurts his ranking just a little bit. Number 5, I've got LeBron James, and LeBron is probably the toughest player on this list to rank. You want to put him as high as the best player in the league because he's been that for the last 10 years, and you honestly could make a case that he's not even the top 10 anymore. But if you guys watched that series against the Phoenix Suns, you'll know that it wasn't really LeBron's fault that his team wasn't doing well. He was drawing tons of attention in the paint, and his shooters were just simply not knocking down wide open shots. So if you say that his playoff performance is what is really making him decline here, you're absolutely wrong. But LeBron still has to be in the top 5 for me because of just how his overall game is still just that good. And the spacing on this Lakers team is still horrible and got worse with the Russell Westbrook trade. And you're going to see LeBron struggle in the paint as his career goes on here because of this bad spacing with his team. But he still is a top 5 player in the league with his scoring ability near the rim when he's at his best, his sometimes good 3-point shooting, his absolutely elite playmaking, and sometimes good defense. The only reason he's not ranking 1 here, if you watch LeBron play this season, you'll see that basically his scoring, playmaking, and defense is still all elite, but it declined a little bit from last season, and I just don't see how you could put him above the guys that emerged this season, and I have ranking above him from 4 to 1. Fourth, I've got Kevin Durant. Before I get into why he's not in the top 3, let's talk about how he's easily the best scorer in the league still. Still one of the most unique skill sets in the NBA. At 7 foot, he can shoot over everyone and probably the best 3-level scorer right now. In the regular season, putting up 27 points per game, and despite this being a small sample size, as he was injured a lot of the time, shot 54% from the field, 45% from 3, and overall a 66% true shooting, which is insane for a guy with KD's playstyle. And then in the playoffs, having a historic scoring performance, averaging 34 points per game on still 51% from the field, 40% from 3, and 63% true shooting. For me, KD is still easily the best scorer in the league, and I know it's controversial I'm ranking him here at 4, but I'll explain it now. It's because he's not an elite playmaker like one of the guys I've ranked ahead of him here, and he's definitely not an elite defender unlike 2 of the guys that I've ranked ahead of him here as well. Just the other aspects to his game aren't nearly as good as the guys that I ranked above him, where they are also great scorers, not as good as him, but we have to play the gap game here and decide what we value more, and you'll see the guys that are ranked ahead of him here too. But basically for me, Kevin Durant's defense this year was nothing above average. His off-ball defense was decent at times, but most of the time his on-ball defense was not nearly as good as it was in the years with the Golden State Warriors, and only held opponents to 48% from the field despite them taking some tough shots on the perimeter against him too. So overall, I find his defense average, and that's why he's ranking a bit lower than you might think. Third, I've got Kawhi Leonard, and obviously this is controversial that I'm still putting Kawhi over Kevin Durant, but I think Kawhi, especially right now, and I know he's going to miss all of next season, but in terms of 2021, was criminally underrated around the NBA community, and just the fact that he didn't get enough attention from fans is why some people are ranking him out of their top 5. We will look at Kawhi this season. In the regular season, his scoring went completely unnoticed, almost shooting about 50-40-90 on about 64% true shooting, and also put up around 25 points per game in the regular season, but around 30 points per game in the NBA playoffs. Absolutely dominated in that series against the Mavericks, put up 30 points per game on 60% shooting, the first player since 2001 Shaq to do that in a playoff series, and overall in the playoffs, splits of 57% from the field, over 40% from 3, and over 90% from the line, and 68% true shooting in the NBA playoffs, which is insane for a guy like Kawhi, who has a 3-level scoring game and creates his own shot a lot of the time, and also dominates in the mid-range area. His scoring isn't as good as Kevin Durant, but it's close, and for me, his defense separates him. In my opinion, Kawhi is still one of the top tier on-ball defenders in the league right now. We saw this in the NBA playoffs in the series against the Mavericks. When he switched on to Luka Doncic, he contained him better than anyone, and basically the entire league could, in my opinion. And in the small sample size that he played against the Jazz too, did a great job guarding Donovan Mitchell one-on-one. And we didn't see as much of this in the regular season, but we know that Kawhi turned it up in the playoffs a ton. For me, he's still arguably a top 10 defender, a great playmaker too, ranking top 15 in box creation, top 5 in secondary assists in the NBA playoffs, and has great gravity. And for me, I know a lot of people do not even have Kawhi in their top 5, but I'm a huge fan of him. I watch him play a ton, and from what I've seen, I still don't see how he's not a top 3 player. Second, I've got Giannis Antetokounmpo, and after what he did in the NBA playoffs, I have to put him this high on my list. In the regular season, still putting up 28 points per game on 57% from the field. In the playoffs, keeping a consistent 30 points per game throughout the entire NBA playoffs on, again, 57% from the field. Easily the best rim scorer and paint scorer in the league. He's incredibly dominant when he gets out in transition, that goes without saying. And defensively, still a top 5 defender in my eyes, an incredible rim protector, pick and roll defender, and can defend the perimeter almost better than any big man in the entire NBA. When it comes to playmaking too, Giannis showed a playmaking aspect to his game this season. I'd say it's probably about as good as Kevin Durant, so I'd say when we compare the two of them, they're probably equal. But really what did it for me here was Giannis' finals performance. I mean, when we look at that last game, putting up 50 points, not being a liability from the free throw line as he usually was, just playing outstanding defense. This is really what did it for me and put Giannis this high in the list. And just overall, his incredible playoffs performance and his overall game is elite scoring at the rim, elite defense, and pretty good playmaking, for me makes him the second best player in the NBA right now. And number 1 on my list, I've got Steph Curry. For some of you guys, this is absolutely going to be controversial, and the best player in the league discussion right now is as interesting as ever, but I'm actually not even going to explain my ranking today, because next video, I'm going to come up with an entire video on why I think Steph Curry is the best player in the league. So stay tuned for that, and make sure you watch that video as well. So that's the end of today's video. Those are my top 10 players in the NBA right now. I definitely think my list is probably controversial for a lot of you guys, and it's very interesting right now with the way that the league is to discuss our top 10 players. So comment your thoughts down below. I want to see what you guys think of my list, and even comment down below your top 10 list if you want. It's very interesting to see everyone's different opinions. Thank you all for watching this video. I appreciate you guys if you watched this entire series. I think it was a great series for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next video.